It's not because I always hold on. It might be I always...
I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities and Music. Guys, before you do anything, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, do us a favor. Go to www.velocitiesandmusic.com. Check out our new look for our website. We just relaunched using WordPress now. We're really excited about it. We want your feedback and tell us what you guys think. If you guys have any suggestions, we'd love to hear it. And you can watch this review there. So thanks for checking us out. To get started with our album review today, we're going to review Sharon Van Etten's Tramp. That's an interesting album name. I never really thought about how interesting of an album name that is. Anyways, this is an album that instantly reminded me of Wye Oak. Sharon Van Etten has this very, it's not a very high falsetto. Her singing voice reminds me of the lead singer from Wye Oak.
And she's actually featured on this album.
She is
so at some track. I don't remember which one actually.
And I know that she was part of the collaborative process. But other bands that this sound, which I really enjoyed the sound that Tramp was going for. It reminded me of a lot of Wye Oak, Silver Sun pickups, and then even Feist at times.
Even some early PJ Harvey I got.
Yep, and just, you know, it was a lot of really good guitar, clangy guitar, a lot of atmosphere with the guitar too, big cymbals in the percussion, and you know, just a lot of just very nice, well done, just kind of indie folk rock tunes. The only issue is that I get through listening to these 12 tracks, and I just kind of find myself thinking, what was that, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, like I didn't find that this album was extremely memorable, and so to try to jump back in and decide, Tom, how we were going to figure out what was causing us to think like this, what I did is I went through the process of just kind of figuring out how every song was produced. And so maybe you can help me speak to that a little bit, since you're our production expert here. And really what I noticed was that Sharon Van Etten's voice was very high in the mix.
Yeah.
You know, all this stuff is going on with the guitars and the bass and the drums, and it was not as prominent as her vocals. And when her vocals are that prominent, and yet her vocal parts really don't go that crazy. They're not that intense. No. They're very, you know, just kind of straightforward, nothing too ambitious, not bad by any means, but just nothing to sell the show. I feel like the whole equation kind of got out of balance.
Yeah, which is funny because this was actually produced by one of the brothers in the National. And I think some of the sounds are comparable. Some of the aspects of the sound that you're describing are comparable to the National. What with, you know, everything going on with the bass, drums, guitar, kind of building up, and then the vocals being front and center, because I think the National is that way. But I feel like Matt in the National's voice is much more dramatic and alluring and engaging, and I just didn't get that out of Sharon Van Etten. I feel like, you know, that like you said, you put all this focus, all this emphasis on those vocals, but they're not really all that energetic. I feel like, you know, she sang them well, and I love the harmonies. I think the way the harmonies work on here are great, and they add some effect, but while the writing there is good, I think the performance doesn't quite live up to it. I mean, obviously that's just for me, and you feel pretty similarly. I know a lot of people are really digging this album. They must just be feeling something that we're not, because I listened to this album several times, and it just always just kind of washed over me, and I liked it as a straight through listen, but nothing really jumped out at me.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to just the vocals. The vocal parts themselves weren't ambitious enough to carry the songs. So the whole combination of how the songs are made in a very strategic fashion. You know, they set up and are designed a certain way. So if one feature doesn't work, the whole song will kind of collapse. And in this case, when every song on the album is similar to that, that's what happens. It's very similar. Go with me here, Tom. It's very similar to a football team. Let's go with the Green Bay Packers. All right.
Oh, well, I know.
Yeah, why wouldn't we do that?
Okay.
You know, if one aspect of a football team falls apart, then the whole game, they'll lose the game because of that. And that happened with the Packers this year. That's why they didn't go on to the Super Bowl. The same thing can happen with an album. The point is that you have to have, your strategy has to be implemented well on all fronts. And I just don't think that the strategy that they employed of putting the vocals high in the mix and forcing them to carry the whole sound, I don't think it was executed well. The parts just aren't good enough, and therefore the whole thing kind of seems boring and not very memorable. There's a couple tracks here, like track 3, Serpents, I really enjoyed, and Also track 7, All I Can. But you know, I just kind of, there's a lot of dull, molasses moments on this album that I didn't feel like just really resonated with me. So I'm going mid-60s on this one. 66 is how I feel.
I'm going 68.
What do you guys think? If you've heard Tramp and have a different opinion, like Tom said, this has gotten a lot of good reviews, so we're contrasting a little bit with that. So we're interested in your opinion. We want to know what you guys thought about this album, so leave us a comment on our new website, www.velocitiesmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesmusic. Also, as always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, because that is where we talk to our fans the most, and we would really appreciate getting you involved in the conversation. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.